Capcom Fighting Collection 2 is Capcom's second installment of the retro fighting game collection. It's basically a treasure trove of highly beloved retro fighting games, most of which are older than some people watching. Capcom has done a lot of this, especially if you include collections for the Street Fighter and Darkstalkers series. Because of this, they've understandably gotten really good at making them, and I'm happy to say that this collection is definitely one of their best. Capcom Fighting Collection 2 includes a whopping 8 retro fighting games, almost all of which are very different from the last. In this quick review, I'll be breaking down each of them, highlighting their weak and strong points as well as their flaws. Capcom vs SNK Millennium Fight 2000 Pro is the enhanced version of the original game that sports amazing pixel retro visuals and character designs of Capcom and SNK fighters. The game offers style and structure, and unlike a game like Capcom Fighting Evolution, which is pretty but very challenging, Millennium Fight 2000 balances both. It allows players to choose 2 characters for each fight, with each round dedicated to each fighter, and the health bar carries over. What's cool is that it lets you choose which character goes first before each round, executing combos so smooth and fluid and not difficult to learn, making for a very accessible experience. Now, its successor, Capcom vs SNK Mark of the Millennium 2 2001, doesn't quite measure up due to the age and not receiving a pro treatment. Its character models and backgrounds are incredibly dated. However, the UI and character illustrations still look pretty sick. Additionally, while you get more groove or fighting style options that you can use to customize your control scheme, it does make it hard for people who never played these games before to understand and know which control scheme is best for them. Then we have Capcom Fighting Evolution, which has everything Millennium Fight 2000 Pro does well, except that its roster is noticeably more limited. However, this is also the only game that features characters from 5 games, namely Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter 2, Darkstalkers, and Red Earth, which is a game I never heard of before this. Other than that, it's also stupidly hard. This is like the first title in the collection where you'll start to notice arcade games back in the day weren't playing around because they really wanted your lunch money. The AI is noticeably a lot smarter than other games in the series by far, and unlike some other titles, it isn't cheesable either. So if you intend to play the arcade mode, you better come prepared, or maybe I just need to get good. The gameplay feels incredible and executing moves is tough but satisfying. However, some characters are more effective against fast and hard-hitting characters like Dimitri, that bastard. Next up is Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper, which is the most Street Fighter game in the collection because it's just Street Fighter. Well, not just Street Fighter, because this version was a Japan-only release with several new characters, stages, and the soundtrack. And now you get to play 2, regardless of being a highly detested game in the series. In the new collection, not much has changed about Alpha 3 Upper, but it runs smoothly with no noticeable input lags or delays, no screen tearing and glitches either, but you can't spam the shit out of attacks, as you can see with Chun-Li's never-ending legs. Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper has a great UI, great character models, and even cooler art direction and resolution that evokes nostalgia. Now, this part of the review covers games I really liked in the collection and games I really struggled to enjoy. Power Stone is a 1999 arcade fighting game that is much more unique than any fighting game in this collection. This is because the gameplay is a blend of beat 'em up and fighting game, as players are put into smaller, closed-off environments with several objects you can use to wall up your opponents. But what makes it really special is the Power Stone mechanic, which players must collect in rounds to transform and perform super attacks and ultimates. The game is a lot more goofy and cartoonish, from its character designs to its gameplay, but in all the right ways. Although having to collect stones or prevent your opponent from collecting them is basically most of what you'll be doing, which makes match descend into chaos on some Tom and Jerry Mickey Mouse shit. This makes it chaotic, annoying, and overwhelming, especially if you're anything like me who's never played the game before. Then we have Power Stone 2, which takes the Tom and Jerry hijinks up a notch by including more characters, platform stages, weapons, new levels, and several bosses you have to defeat for some reason. The sequel becomes less of a fighting game with fighting game mechanics, and it just fits right because I had way more fun with the sequel. However, it still can be chaotic due to the amount of stuff happening all at once. Project Justice is a classic retro fighting game, but one that actually has stories to tell. The stories involve several high schoolers and delinquents who either fight each other for several reasons or other opponents, like the evil spirits of a deceased father. While the stories are pretty simple and bare bones, the character designs are pretty good, and the backgrounds really fit the vibe of the game's high school setting. Gameplay is also pretty fun, specifically due to each character's several moves and ultimates. You get 5 bars ranging from simple special attacks for the individual fighter to ultimate moves in which each member of your selected group participates. Each of these ultimates is different for each group, and you get some funny and really cool finishers. You can also swap each character after each round, which makes fighting fun. If you don't like a specific character, you can just choose not to play them. The one major flaw of Project Justice is that fights are incredibly easy to cheese if you have fast fingers like mine, as you can see here, so it feels both good and bad to just destroy enemies like this. Finally, we have Plasma Sword Nightmare of Bilstein. This one is my favorite in the entire collection for many reasons, including the character designs, soundtrack, attack styles, and more. What makes it especially fun is how it blends both goofy and serious elements, like the several ultimate attacks that change the stage and make some goofy stuff happen that's unique to each character, from blasting missiles to turning gigantic and doing some crazy stuff. The entire game has a sci-fi setting and the character designs match its Star Wars-like aesthetic. The only issue I had with this game is how floaty some attacks are and how hard it is to readjust yourself when you miss an attack because it's hard to cancel some attacks. All in all, despite some flaws, Capcom Fighting Collection 2 is an excellent fighting game bundle that features some of the best retro fighting games. It also features new modern features like being able to save SCUM arcade mode with the quick save option and button remapping. You also get some neat extras like soundtracks, new images, and artwork in the museum, which is great. All that said, it gets an 8.5 out of 10. Will you be playing this game? And what are your expectations? Comment down below and subscribe for more quick reviews and videos on the latest games.